Ladies and gentlemen, the graduation ceremony for the 33rd State Game Warden Cadet class will begin. Please rise for the posting of the colors by the Pennsylvania Game Commission Ceremonial Unit. Please be seated. Along with the national and state colors posted here today, you will see the 33rd class has posted the flags of the graduating classes that have gone before them. Each flag is unique, and its significance to the members of the class is reflected in its design. This class follows in the footsteps of men and women who have protected the wildlife resource of this Commonwealth for over a century. These flags are posted here today to honor those who have graduated before them. Now entering the auditorium is the 33rd class flag being carried by Cadet Jacob Babylon. The 33rd class enrolled in March 2021 and will graduate 24 officers here today. Now we dedicate their flag. would like to now recognize the men and women attending in person or at home across our Commonwealth that have answered the call to become game wardens. They carry on the legacy of those that have served before them. Today, we welcome the cadets of the 33rd class to our ranks, bringing the total graduates of the Leffler School of Conservation to 752 since the first class enrolled in 1936. Resident instructor Brandon Feaster will call the 33rd class.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present to you the 33rd class from the Leffler School of Conservation. Cadets, report for duty!
Please rise for our national anthem performed by State Game Warden Matthew Kramer. And please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and Invocation.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the lands of the free and the home of the brave?
Order, order.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Present. Order.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, order.
Please remain standing for the invocation by Cadet Mario Altieri.
Center, place. October 2.
Dear Heavenly Father, we ask for your almighty hand and blessings be upon all those who graduate today and on those who are present with us today in body or in spirit. Bless their lives and careers from this day on with goodness and love. Help them to stay true to their dreams, to use their gifts wisely, and to walk into the future with faith, hope, and great love for your people and your creatures we vow this day to serve and protect. As is said in Psalm 50, every beast of the forest is mine, the cattle on 1,000 hills. I know all the birds of the hills, and all that moves in the field is mine. May the 24 cadets graduating as game wardens faithfully serve your people and your creatures and carry you in their hearts as they vow to protect that which cannot protect itself. Lord, we ask for humility and honor in service. May our service be done in an honorable and humble manner, not self-seeking for our own glory, but to glorify your name. We ask for courage, courage to face and conquer our fears, and courage to take us where others will not go. We ask for strength, strength of body to protect others, and strength of spirit to lead others. We ask for dedication, dedication to do our job and do it well, dedication to our communities to keep them safe. Give us concern for others who trust us and compassion for those in their time of need. And please, Lord, through it all, be at our side. We ask for your protection around all the men and women here today who wear the badge, and we thank you for the example of honor and sacrifice set by the wardens who are here today and those who came before us. We ask as these new officers go forward today that they be guided by their training, their heart, and their spirit. Unite them safely with their families as their shift ends. In your name we pray, amen.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kyle Jury, Director of Training of the Pennsylvania Game Commission. I welcome you to the graduation of the 33rd class of the Ross Leffler School of Conservation. At this time, I'd like to introduce agency staff and special guests. I will ask that each rise briefly if they're in personal attendance, and ask to hold your applause till the end. Our Board of Commissioners, Commissioner awaiting reappointment, Michael Mitrick. Executive Director, Brian Burhans. Deputy Executive Director of Field Operations, Dave Mitchell. Our training school staff officers, Assistant Director of Training, Joel Gibble. Training Officer, Kevin Anderson. Resident instructors for the 33rd class, State Game Warden Rick Finnegan. State Game Warden Andrew Huser. State Game Warden Brandon Feaster. State Game Warden Colton Mueller. And State Game Warden Matthew Tehan. Our training school clerical staff, Mrs. Nikki Hoke. Our Bureau Directors, Director of the Bureau of Administrative Services, Dan Dunlap. Director of the Bureau of Wildlife Protection, Jason Dukoski. Director of the Bureau of Information and Education, Steve Smith. Director of the Bureau of Wildlife Management, Matthew Schnoop. Director of the Bureau of Marketing and Strategic Communications, Matt Moret. Our regional directors, Southwest Regional Director, Jason Farball. South Central Regional Director, Mike Beam. Southeast Regional Director, Peter Sussenbach. Special guest, Representative Keith Gillespie. Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, Timothy Schaefer. Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission Bureau of Law Enforcement, Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Sabo. Acting Deputy Commissioner of Administration and Professional Responsibility, Major William Bowen. And the family of our fallen brother, Mr. and Mrs. Dana Grove. A critical part of a cadet's training is field assignment. For 10 weeks, each of these cadets move around the state to work with 3 different state game wardens who serve as field training officers. I'd like to recognize all those who served as field training officers for the 33rd Cadet Class and thank them for their dedication to the training of future wardens. Please stand now if you served as an FTO. Thank you. The curriculum at the school is taught by nearly 200 various instructors, all well qualified in their subject matter. Many are agency employees and others from outside the agency. We thank and recognize all that have served as an instructor for the 33rd class. Today is a very special day for these cadets, their families, and the agency. The men and women seated before you have endured much. The path to here began in January 2020 when these positions were announced. After a year-long selection process, they each earned a seat in the 33rd class with the goal of becoming a Pennsylvania State Game Warden. Nearly a year has passed since they reported to the training school. They have succeeded in achieving their goal, and we are here today to acknowledge their success and launch their careers as State Game Wardens. In reaching this goal, they have demonstrated the values, skills, knowledge, resolve, and confidence required to serve the agency, the citizens of the Commonwealth, and the wildlife of Pennsylvania. The families and friends of these cadets have supported them throughout this time. They, too, share in the success and pride of this day. It is now my pleasure to call upon Executive Director, Mr. Brian Burhans.
Thank you, Kyle. I just want to say on behalf of the Pennsylvania Game Commission Board of Commissioners and all the staff, congratulations for being here today and for what you have achieved. We're proud of you. We're proud to have you on our team. And, you know, today is such an amazing and special day. But I also want to send a thank you to your families who for the past year have put up with a lot of issues with being separated, and it's a tough time. And we appreciate that here at the Pennsylvania Game Commission. We know what type of sacrifice that makes to every single family in the audience today and those that weren't able to make it today. Thank you for your commitment for the development of these professionals. Class, congratulations.
The class speaker was chosen by his own classmates to represent the class. So you can well appreciate this is an honor for the cadet selected. It is my pleasure to introduce Cadet John Walker, representing the 33rd class.
Thank you, Director Jury. I would like to thank our distinguished guests, instructors, wardens, friends and families of the 33rd class of Pennsylvania State Game Wardens for your attendance today. I won't speak this morning about the long hours or extremely challenging training, the never-ending classroom time, or the amazing experiences we all had during or here at the Ross Leffler School of Conservation. I won't, because I know that each of us has taken all of you with us through our journeys. Instead, I would rather talk to you about what our classes became as we earned the right to be called State Game Wardens. Almost a year ago, we all arrived here on that last Sunday in March, and as we moved across the parking lot and through the building, we quickly began to think, what have we just gotten ourselves into? Perhaps it was due to the extra amounts of motivation and loud guidance being barked to us, or the shock of academy life. It was at this point that we first unknowingly started to develop as a team. A great team is built on some basic principles, the first being the organization's culture. The Pennsylvania Game Commission has an established culture that blended into our class even before we arrived at RLSC. It's this culture and the mission of the PGC that may have originally sparked some of us to want to become wardens. With the teaching, coaching, and mentoring from our resident instructors and the leaders within our class, we were quickly moving away from our previous lives to becoming the cadets of the 33rd class. Next is the people. We were the first class to have members from outside of Pennsylvania. We range in age from 22 to 43, and we have classmates who have just finished college, completely changing their occupation, or starting a new career. Along the way, we've welcomed 2 new lives, announced the news of twins, and had engagements. We started as a group of strangers with a common interest. Then we developed empathy, respect, and loyalty for each other. With each other's support, we were able to keep moving towards the same goal together as a team. Our purpose follows. A clear and convincing purpose is the glue that binds together a group of individuals. This is part of the foundation on which our team is built. The purpose is more than just surviving 44 weeks of training and time away from home. It's about being part of something much larger than our individual selves. We all were taught to embrace our role as public service agency and provide the best customer service possible in everything we do. This may have been as simple as explaining the proper way to dispatch a groundhog, or during field training we'd have to seize an illegal trophy class animal. We all understood and support our purpose as an agency and our team. Having this clear purpose allowed us to conquer tasks such as cleaning up after a fluke tornado that only struck the upstairs of the training wing, or a task that fell under the agency's mission. We accomplished them together. Finally, commitment. A commitment is a pledge that obligates you to assume a position or carry out a specific course of action. I know after 44 weeks as a member of this team, we are all committed to the process, to each other, and to the commission. We have reaffirmed our commitment continually during our time at RLSC. We stood by each other every morning and recited our pledge to the country and to the commission. We show commitment by being the first class to all receive the shocking feeling given during taser training, took care of each other after OC training, and on our Wednesday nights off, even on the range when we were coaching each other. As a class, we have shown acts of determination and commitment. We don't give up, and we don't leave each other behind. While we didn't always get along and pestered each other with names like Batman, Strawberry, or McPhilly, there is never a doubt that each of us are committed to follow any one of our brothers and sisters into the woods that may have unknown dangers lurking that we will need to overcome together. On behalf of the greatest class to pass through the halls of RLSC, we would like to again say thank you to all the staff and instructors for the outstanding training you provided us. We hope to make each of you proud as we become members of the Commission's larger team today. Thank you.
I would now like to call on our keynote speaker, retired Illinois Conservation Officer and Certified Forensic Interviewer, Jeff Bale. You'll notice we don't have Jeff here with us today. Jeff comes from Illinois, and unfortunately because of the weather events that we had over the last few days, not only his primary flight was canceled, but also his backup as well. He would have wanted to be here more than anything, knowing how much he's committed to the Game Commission and our training. So I will give his bio, and then last evening, probably from 10 p.m. to midnight, he was able to record his speech, and we will listen to that today. Jeff has been instructing forensic interview and interrogation skills to our wardens since 2007. He's taught in 17 different states, 2 provinces, and 1 territory. During his course, he covers truth and lie detection, body language analysis, and other critical communication skills that build success in the field. He has trained 173 officers during his tenure in our program, and there isn't a warden in Pennsylvania who doesn't know his name. At a minimum, using the simple definition of interview, these new officers will likely conduct 400 interviews in their first year. Countless cases have been made because of his teachings, and hunters, wardens, and wildlife enthusiasts all benefit from these successful prosecutions. Jeff's techniques have become such a staple with our wardens, we now use the enduring term, bailed him, after a successful interview. Jeff is the longest standing instructor outside agency personnel this training school has ever had. It's my pleasure to introduce Jeff Bale.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Kyle, for the place Keynote actually meant. So I looked up, and Keynote actually meant meaning to motivate. So for the class here, I'm not quite sure if I can motivate you because you did 44 weeks straight. Now listen, I had 13 weeks. That was my academy, 13 weeks. And by week 3, I thought I was a goner. Very, very tough for me, but look what you did. You're there for 44 weeks, but I bet you there were some times when you had to draw on your classmates and ask them for help, and ask them, can you get me through this? I bet you there were. I did. So at the end of today, when graduation is over, I want you to find some of those cadets and tell them how much they helped you get up on that stage today, because they really did. That was a hard thing to do for 44 weeks. Tim Grenville last year in his address to the cadets said, quote, "Hard work and dedication never go out of style. It's the difference between having a job and doing a job." And I really, really believe that. You have a job and you're going to be doing a job. You actually have the greatest job in the world. I think you know that. I know you guys are tight. Think about the first day when you were there, didn't know anyone, everybody was a stranger, and all of a sudden you started to become really good pals, hooked up, and now you have lifetime friends. When you're 60, 70 years old, you are going to be talking to your classmates and reminiscing about the academy. It's just how it is. We're a tight group. Game ones are all tight. Paul McCartney said he always thought that the Beatles were just simply a little tight group of friends who made it really, really big. And that's what you are. You're a tight group. You're all friends. You made it really, really big because you have a job of a lifetime. I don't know if you knew this or not, but there's only about 8,000 game wardens in the United States and Canada. That's it. It's a small group. For comparison, Pittsburgh has 6,600 police officers for 140 square miles. And I did the math, it's about 42 officers per square mile. I'm told that your typical area is about 350 square miles. Mine is about 600. So you can see how tight this is, and when you really see how tight our group is, our family, is to go to a National Game Warden conference, and you sit next to officers from the United States and Canada. It is so much fun. You think that they work in your district. You're about to do something that you've never really done before. Most of you here are not law enforcement or previous law enforcement. This is completely different than civilian life. You probably knew this, but you're going to change lives. You will be changing lives. From the stories I've heard, you've already done it. You have signed up for a career of 30 years. That takes a special personality, and your interviewers saw that personality in you. That's why you're sitting here. And you'll be telling people what to do for 30 years. This is why we spend so much time on interpersonal communications and how to deliver bad news in a good way. So you don't have to worry too much about those situations. You are going to use your communication skills 1,000 times more than any of the defensive weapons you have on your belt. That is another defensive weapon, our communication skills. And you've already talked your way out of some of the situations because your training officers told me that. I've got a couple of stories here that you gave me. Sack Souls, he caught a bear poacher who bought his tag after he was after the kill, which of course is illegal. You used that special technique, didn't you? And to get them to tell the truth. And you also saw some micro-expressions. For the audience, your micro-expressions occur on the face about 1/25th of a second. And Sack saw that, and apparently the micro-expressions did not match what the person was saying, and he used that to get this person to tell the truth. And when he told the truth, I don't know what happened enforcement-wise, but maybe he won't do it again now, since he actually was caught in a lie and told the truth. David Van Sokelman, I call him Conan, he used his skills to persuade a hunter to tell the truth. He heard some sort of an anomaly in the speech. I wasn't sure what it was, but it completely changed the direction of the case. And what was interesting is that at the end, David told me that he had such a high level of rapport with the hunter that at the end he just screamed out, he says, "Okay, I get it." Now don't get too used to that, David. That does not happen all the time. Yeah, I know you're proud of that, but that's not at big house all the time. But I'm proud of you what you did there, especially here in that anomaly. That's pretty cool. In another late tag purchase, Jacob Babylon, he reflected after his interaction, and he wrote this, I'm quoting, "Relating to the man and being his friend and holding a regular conversation helped produce a clear confession." That's such introspection there. It's really cool. So what Jacob found out is that just chit-chatting with someone rather than bossing them around oftentimes produces someone to tell the truth when they didn't want to before. It was a nice piece of police work, always are. And Mario, in a baiting case, by being extremely patient and allowing the person to repeat story, just like you were taught, triggered some non-verbal communication and some negative body language, which is kind of hard for officers to see, but he saw it, and he was able to get this confession. I'm going to read his whole quote. Quote, "Although the hunter did receive several citations and his deer was confiscated, the hunter shook our hands, thanked us for doing our job, and apologized for his lack of responsibility." Well, that's really a cool thing to happen, especially at this stage. I mean, you're not even out there yet, and you got these confessions. I had a riot reading these things. I'm really impressed with how you listen in class. Any instructor would be impressed with that. I can see it. I can see exactly what you did. You took it in this field. Your training officers allowed you to do this, and sure enough, you produced. And I know that everybody in class has this, but Kyle said I couldn't take an hour to talk to you, so I had to truncate it. These are all unsolvable cases. Did you know that? They're unsolvable. The only way you solve them is because the person told you this. And that's going to be lots and lots. It's always nice when someone tells the truth, and it's just a lot easier. If someone called and said, "I shot a bear out of season," that's not going to happen. A lot of people have to be convinced of this. What was cool is that you tactically identified the guilty, but you resolved the truthful, that's a professional interview. And this is exactly the type of thinking that your interviewers saw in you. This is why you got picked over somebody else. Because you have the ability to adapt on the fly, to deliver bad news in a good way, and you're kind of more of a counselor than a cop, and a little bit more Andy than Barney, which you know exactly what that means. You've got the greatest job in the world when you really think about it. Think about all the equipment that you get to drive. How much does that stuff cost? So you drive a four-wheel drive all day, you get a boat maybe, you have a snowmobile sometime during the year, then in a couple of weeks, they send you some money, and they say, "We hope you had a good time." Not exactly what it is, but I think you agree with me that this was a hobby I got paid for. Or almost would do it for free, and I think you guys would too. We spent our whole week together talking about being a professional game warden, professional interviewer, professional interrogator, professional body language analyst, professional lie detector. Being a professional analyst is a defensive weapon, like I said before. If you can read somebody's internal thoughts, like we discussed in class, and you pay attention, that is a defensive weapon. You'll be able to read this person better than someone that is not analytical. There's no doubt that you have the greatest job in the world. But it can get pretty icky from time to time. I mean, real icky. And don't fool yourself, it's police work. You could go from just a humdrum day to turning down the wrong road for a long time and now you're in the middle of something. But don't worry about that because your training is going to kick in. Your verbal skills, like we talked about all week, are going to kick in, and the other defensive skills that the other instructors taught you, they're all going to kick in. You're going to be fine. But there's some serendipity moments as well. There's an officer in Peoria County that took my place. He decided to check a taxidermist, and he knocked on the door, and he said he wanted to look at his records, and he could tell that he was kind of distressed a little bit. So the taxidermist told him a little bit later that his wife had died. So the officer made a real cursory check, found some violations, but he didn't take any action. He wanted to leave this man alone. This was not a good time to get into it with this man. He wanted to leave him alone. 2 weeks later, Scott said he felt what he quote, urge to talk to this guy. So he traveled clear across the county and went up to the man's door. Remember, this is 2 weeks later. And he knocked on the door, and you could tell that this man was actually in crisis. And he was in the final stages of taking his own life. He had all the plans. He was going to park his vehicle on the railroad tracks and kill himself. Scott counseled him that day, and they became friends. He did not take the action, obviously, and he's seen him several times over the years. So not only are you going to be changing lives, you actually, Scott actually saved his life. And there's a percentage in this class that's going to happen to you, probably not in this situation, but somebody in this class is going to change a life by actually saving a life. You need to take care of yourself. You know, it's pretty easy to be physically fit, what you're doing right now, because everybody's yelling at you every day. That's easy. You don't have to yell at yourself to keep yourself physically fit, and that means mentally fit. Research draws a straight line from being physically fit to mentally fit. And it's a straight line. If we're physically fit, we're more mentally fit. But if it goes south, then we can have some problems. Now, I want you to be able to tell your game warden stories 30 years from now, 40, 50 years from now to your grandkids. So take care of yourself. So if you're told sometimes that you don't smile at everybody, you probably don't. If you're told that you don't have a sense of humor anymore like you used to be before you got hired as a game warden, you probably don't have that sense of humor anymore. And if you're told that maybe you don't speak kindly to people anymore, maybe you use a lot more foul language, there's probably something going on in your life that needs to be addressed. Don't let these things go by. I've been there. Every guitar instructor I've ever had could help me play my guitar better because he saw things from the outside in. And it is much more valid to see something from the outside in rather than the inside out. I couldn't see my hands playing the guitar like he did. If someone tells you something like that and you're different, that maybe something is going on in your life, I think that you should take that to heart and not let it pass by. Continue your non-award hobbies, such as dancing lessons, taking guitar. Somebody in Pennsylvania here is running for school board. That's excellent. My website designer, Robin Brandberg, he's a Missouri warden. He started a computer business as he was working, and now he's got this great computer business. So try to relax. You want to diffuse. You don't want to always think about law enforcement. The problem with the game board is that our office is our playground. I mean, if I go hunting, ask any of the training officers, and they'll tell you they made some of the best cases off duty when they were hunting, and I think that's great too. But the rub to that is that that's not relaxing. That's not really relaxing. So that's all I'm saying here is try to get something that has nothing to do with law enforcement, and I think that helps you. As you go through your career, I want you to try to reconfirm daily and validate daily that your interviewers were right, that you're the best of the best, that you are the game warden, not a game warden, in your town, and they hired the most innovative and maybe forward-thinking warden that's around. That's what I want you to shoot for. There's never been a time that I've not seen myself in that front row, sitting there with a full head of hair, 43 years ago. Every time I come to Pennsylvania, I think I see that, and I see it for all 5 days. I get to actually live vicariously through you for 40 hours, and I've been doing that for the last 18 years out here. So in theory, I'll never retire. Welcome to our family. And this is a family, and it's tight. What's kind of neat, though, is that we're all brothers and sisters. And today, I just picked up 23 brothers and one sister named April. Thank you again for having me come and teach you, and I certainly enjoyed meeting all of you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Kyle, for that nice introduction. Thank you for asking me to be a keynote speaker.
And don't be surprised if they try to use these skills at home too, that Jeff mentions. As I mentioned, he would have won more than anything to be here, but just there was no way to make that happen. At this time, I want to read just a brief statement from Senator Dan Laughlin from the 49th District. Dan is the Pennsylvania Senate Game and Fisheries Committee Chairman. To all the graduating Pennsylvania Game Wardens, this is a special occasion for you. The busy days are over, the early mornings of first call and PT, the after-dinner classes that could run late into the evening, and of course the studying, exams, skills, learning, even the daily maintenance of cleaning details. That has all come to an end. You're all graduating as wildlife conservation officers, Pennsylvania State Game Wardens, as part of the 33rd class of the Ross Leffler School of Conservation. I want to congratulate each of you for the hard work that led to this moment and wish you the best as you take the next step in your journey. As chairman of the Pennsylvania Senate's Game and Fisheries Committee, I am personally grateful for your willingness to dedicate your life to protecting one of Pennsylvania's most important natural resources, its wildlife. Whether it's detecting violations of state or federal law governing game, wildlife and natural resources, apprehending, arresting violators, conducting investigations, preparing for, participating in court trials, servicing nuisance wildlife complaints, providing conservation education, and administering the Hunter-Trapper Education Program, your efforts not only promote safe hunting and fishing, but also encourage an appreciation of the state's habitat and the need to conserve them. Enjoy today, and again, congratulations on your achievement. And we thank Senator Laughlin for sending that to us. All of the officers in this room have taken an oath to protect and defend the people and wildlife of this Commonwealth. Since the agency was established in 1895, 10 officers of the Pennsylvania Game Commission have lost their lives in the performance of these duties. Now entering the auditorium is the fallen officer's flag, carried by State Game Warden Salvador Zafudo and guarded by State Game Warden Travis Anderson. This flag was designed by members of the 27th class and was created to honor these officers who died in the line of duty. Seeley Houck, end of watch, March 2nd, 1906, Lawrence County. Deputy Charles Beecham, end of watch, November 4th, 1906, Lackawanna County. Joseph McHugh, end of watch, November 7th, 1915, Carbon County. Joseph Kalfas, end of watch, August 10th, 1919, Warren County. Elias Woody Kelly, end of watch, August 10th, 1919, Warren County. Walter Middleton, end of watch, December 1st, 1935, Snyder County. John Ross, end of watch, July 18th, 1942, McKean County. Robert Zimmerman, end of watch, May 13th, 1957, Montour County. Woodrow Portsline, end of watch, October 24th, 1973, Butler County. David Grove, end of watch, November 11, 2010, in Adams County. Let us pause in a moment of quiet reflection for these men and their sacrifice. Let us never forget these men. In the first weeks of training, we talked about character traits. Traits such as integrity, courage, discipline, loyalty, diligence, humility, optimism, and conviction. These are not traits we were born with, but they are the results of individual choices we make throughout our lives. We also talked about taking an oath and the meaning of an oath. It is very personal, individual, and voluntary. It is a solemn promise to conduct yourself in a certain way, to build these character traits, to accept the burden of accountability, to be an example to others worth emulating. It is the foundation of our value system and trust between us and the people that we serve. The badge we wear is a symbol of that trust. Back in September, the class took their oath of office when they were commissioned as deputies. Today, we will renew that oath as state game wardens. I call upon Pennsylvania Game Commission Executive Director, Mr. Brian Burhans, to administer the oath.
Clap. Left hand, chin. Cover. Two. Left, face. Raise, right.
I, Tanner Hazlett, Jeffrey McVaney, Nicholas Visser,
Zachary Solsgiver.
John Walker,
Mario Altieri.
April Wetzel.
Jacob Babylon,
David Tomato.
Jesse Cunningham, Evan McDaniel,
Andrew Butler. John Lauer. Zachary Souls.
Alex Meyer,
Justin Slomian,
Andrew Macko, Jeffrey Gibson,
David Van Salkema.
Blake Rochette,
Lawrence Grimmons.
Austin Adams, Levi Hanel, Bradley Hyde.
Do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth. And that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. That I will not knowingly receive, directly or indirectly, any money or valuable thing for the performance or non-performance of any act or duty pertaining to my office, other than the compensation allowed by law.
Order, arms. Right, face. Take seat.
At this time, I'd like to call Training Officer Kevin Anderson for the class awards.
Awards of excellence are given in several major areas of endeavor. The first award, EVOC Driving Award, presented to Andrew Macco for safe and exceptional police driving skills during the 44-week training program as a cadet of the 33rd class. The Academy Torch Award, presented to John Walker for exhibiting the highest professional standard of conduct, values, ideals, and demonstrated abilities as judged by his fellow cadets of the 33rd class. Physical Fitness Award, presented to Jacob Babylon for maintaining the highest standard in overall physical fitness throughout the entire 44-week training program as a cadet of the 33rd class. Academic Achievement Award, presented to Andrew Macco for achieving the highest overall grade average of 96.9% as a cadet of the 33rd class. The Top Shooter Award, presented to Alex Meyer for demonstrating the highest overall proficiency in firearms training as a cadet of the 33rd class.
At this time, I have the incredible honor of presenting an award that isn't typically part of our graduation ceremony. Earlier, I mentioned the field training officers and their critical part in the cadets training program. Occasionally, we have a warden and cadet pair that go above and beyond in their typical service of community. These actions can be life-changing, and as you heard Jeff Bale mention in the speech, it has happened before and did with this class. At this time, I'd like to call upon Cadet Jeffrey McVaney and State Game Warden Dan Carl from the Northwest Region. Please come up. I'd like to relay the actions of these officers that led to them receiving this award today. At approximately 10:50 hours on October 24th, 2021, State Game Warden Dan Carl and Cadet Jeffrey McVaney were on routine law enforcement patrol when Cadet McVaney observed a vehicle on an abandoned access road that runs along the railroad tracks in Mercer County. Realizing the vehicle was parked in an unusual spot and that they had not seen it parked there on previous days, Warden Carl and Cadet McVaney approached the vehicle. They found a woman sitting inside a gray Toyota Camry. As Cadet McVaney began to talk to her, he noticed that she presented a distance or closed-off demeanor and didn't respond to most of the questions he had. Cadet McVaney obtained her driver's license to identify her, and throughout the encounter, she continually attempted to walk towards the railroad tracks. Recognizing that she may be emotionally disturbed, Warden Carl relayed to dispatch to send assistance. Throughout the encounter, the woman continued to pace around the area and tried to distance herself from the officers and the others that came to the scene. She would answer only very few questions, but repeatedly would say to these officers that she wanted to go somewhere as she attempted to walk towards the tracks. After a while, they convinced her to ride with the paramedics, and they found, after she had left with the paramedics, that she was attempting to commit suicide, and this was the 5th attempt. Speaking to the gravity of the situation, a train powered by 4 locomotive engines came by as the ambulance was pulling away with the woman inside. She was likely aware of the train's schedule and would have tragically committed suicide if Warden Carl and Cadet Jeffrey McVaney had not interceded. Warden Carl's and Cadet McVaney's initial observations of the car parked in an unusual location, along with their investigative curiosity and subsequent actions, undoubtedly saved this woman's life. I'm honored to present them with a life-saving award today. Assistant Director of Training, Joel Gibble, will call the class for the presentation of their credentials.
State Game Warden, Jacob Babylon. From Armstrong County, going to Butler County. His credentials will be presented by his fiancée, Stephanie Drapella. State Game Warden, April Witzel. From Dauphin County, going to Cambria County. Her credentials will be presented by her father, retired Pennsylvania State Game Warden, Mike Doherty. State Game Warden, Mario Altieri. From Erie County, going to Mercer County. His credentials will be presented by his daughter, Marcelina Altieri, and Pennsylvania State Game Warden, Kevin Anderson. State Game Warden, John Walker, from Indiana County, going to Indiana County. His credentials will be presented by his wife, Jessica Walker. State Game Warden, Zachary Salzgiver, from Dauphin County, going to Chester County. His credentials will be presented by his mother, Sandy Nunemacher. State Game Warden, Nicholas Visser, from Monroe County, going to Delaware County. His credentials will be presented by his father, Kurt Visser. State Game Warden, Jeffrey McVaney, from Florida, going to Venango County. His credentials will be presented by his girlfriend, Mackenzie Nail. State Game Warden, Tanner Hazlett, from Cambria County, going to Greene County. His credentials will be presented by his girlfriend, Carly Langlet. State Game Warden, David Fermato, from New Jersey, going to Lehigh County. His credentials will be presented by his girlfriend, Adriana Ruggieri. State Game Warden, Jesse Cunningham, from Cumberland County, going to Lehigh Northampton County. His credentials will be presented by his wife, Marguerite Cunningham. State Game Warden, Evan McDaniel, from Washington County, going to Allegheny County. His credentials will be presented by his fiancée, Lauren McGavitt. State Game Warden, Andrew Butler, from Tioga County, going to Lycoming County. His credentials will be presented by his wife, Jenna, and his children, Rowan and Aspen. State Game Warden, Sean Lauer, from York County, going to Jefferson County. His credentials will be presented by his father, Mark Lauer. State Game Warden, Zachary Souls, from Dauphin County, going to Dauphin County. His credentials will be presented by his wife, Samantha Souls. State Game Warden Alex Meyer from Wayne County, going to Pike County. His credentials will be presented by his father, Jeff Meyer. State Game Warden Justin Slomian from Tioga County, going to McKean County. His credentials will be presented by his wife, Victoria Slomian. State Game Warden Bradley Hyde from Adams County, going to Fayette County. His credentials will be presented by his father, Bradley Hyde. State Game Warden Levi Hanel from Erie County, going to Forest County. His credentials will be presented by his field training officer, Pennsylvania State Game Warden Andrew Huser. State Game Warden Austin Adams from Snyder County, going to Bedford County. His credentials will be presented by his wife, Nicole Adams. State Game Warden Lawrence Crimmy III from Lackawanna County, going to Center County. His credentials will be presented by his wife, Linda, and his daughter, Peyton. State Game Warden Blaine Groshek from McKean County, going to Potter County. His credentials will be presented by his father, retired Pennsylvania State Game Warden Leonard Groshek. State Game Warden David Van Solkema from Monroe County, going to Bradford County. His credentials will be presented by his fiancee, Morgan Buchter. State Game Warden Jeffrey Gibson from New Jersey, going to Warren County. His credentials will be presented by his wife, Amber Gibson. State Game Warden Andrew Macco IV from Wyoming County, going to Luzerne County. His credentials will be presented by his father, Andrew Macco III.
Third detail, left face. Ready, seat.
Resident Instructor Andrew Huser will lead the class in the Game Warden Pledge.
Class, attention. Raise right. I am a Pennsylvania Game Warden.
It is my duty to protect the people and wild resources of this Commonwealth. I will faithfully perform the duties entrusted to me without fear, favor, or prejudice. I will always conduct myself in a manner that honors my fellow officers, my agency, my state, and my country. I will be a positive influence in my community and will always help those in need. I will conquer the dangers I encounter and will consider no sacrifice too great in the performance of my duty. To this I pledge my sacred honor. I am a Pennsylvania Game Warden.
Order. March.
Please rise for the retrieving of the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present the 33rd class of Pennsylvania State Game Wardens. I want to thank Jeff Bale, our speaker, for doing what he could to get us his message today. I appreciate their enthusiasm. Thank you all for attending, whether in person or at home.